Of course, not everyone is left-handed, but you may have to fight someone who is. In this video, Mike Janisch, founder of Martial Blade Concepts, breaks down the knife defense tactics for and against lefties with his hands-on demonstration. And a quick reminder, we have a gun giveaway going on right now. You can enter for free, but it ends really soon. Just click the link in the description below to reveal which brand new gun you could win. Let's watch the video.
In my approach to knife self-defense, Martial Blade Concepts, we focus on what is most likely to happen. So we look statistically at the people out there. 90% of the world's population is right-handed. That means 90% of us are right-handed, so we have to bias our skills toward the right-handed majority. And 90% of our problem is also right-handed. But again, what we have to do is make sure we take into consideration all the possibilities, but do it in a realistic way. If it's a 10% probability, then we don't want to take 90% of our training time and devote it to that. But we also have to consider, as far as the good guys are concerned, is the 10% minority of lefties out there who have to deal with the right-handed world. So what we're going to look at is the idea of kind of crossing over, taking right-handed skills, taking the concepts and elements that we've looked at before as far as Martial Blade Concepts, and being able to cross-reference those and essentially deal with left-handed attackers. In the process, we also give our lefties out there a template for being able to deal with the right-handed majority that they'll have to deal with. So first of all, help me out is Eric Mays. Eric, how you doing? Trainer. Always work with training knives, never work with live weapons. Always want to make sure you're training safely. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at a strategy for dealing with left-handed attackers that we call using follows. So when we look at a follow, let's go back to righty for just a second. If Eric was throwing an angle 2 at me, so he's basically attacking the upper right-hand portion of my body, in this case, a knife attack. Doesn't matter what weapon he's wielding, as long as he's a lethal threat, I'm justified in using my knife. One of the traditional techniques you'll see in the Filipino martial arts that we draw from as far as Martial Blade Concepts is what's called a follow, which is essentially where I'm trying to follow his hand and cut it. I'm evading and getting out of its path. So as he comes in here, I create distance and I cut with essentially the opposite angle. The problem with this is because his hand is in motion, if he's moving fast, when he comes in, it's hard for me to get any kind of a substantial cut. He's just going too fast, and trying to catch up with that doesn't really make sense. So with knives, even though it's a traditional Filipino martial arts technique, we're not really fond of it. We don't do it a whole lot. But where it starts to come into its own is when we look at a left-handed attack instead. So now as he's coming in, I'm able to get a better cut with this, especially if instead of chasing where I'm kind of perpendicular to his arm here, what I think of is cutting forward at more of a 30-degree angle. So I know that a portion of his arm is going to be in this sector here as I cut forward. So rather than chasing directly this way, what I do is I intercept at a different angle. Same concept, but applied a little bit more, a little bit smarter. So as he comes in here, I cut. That's my first shot. From here, I'm chambered across my body. My natural follow-up is going to be for a backhand motion. So my second target priority, first, I'm trying to take his grip if at all possible. In this case, I'm cutting the extensor side of his arm, so I'm probably not going to make him drop his knife from a physiological standpoint, but it's still a good cut on him. Second cut is coming across his tricep. What I'm trying to do here is take away his ability to extend his elbow and be able to renew his attack with follow-up actions. So we get his first cut, second cut, and then what I'm doing from there is stepping forward, checking his elbow with my hand in a fingers up attitude here. So what I'm doing is checking, establishing a strut with my arm, and then stepping forward to drive this across. What this does is it keeps him from coming back. So if he tries to turn back to face me, I've got a really strong skeletal structure that keeps him away. And I'm also now giving myself targets to be able to take away his mobility. The ultimate goal here is I want to create distance and create safety. So what I'm looking at is using the same mechanics that we do for the comma cut we've used right versus right. I'm going to thrust into the back of his leg, basically cut the top of his calf, and then finish by cutting his Achilles tendon as well. What that does is it literally destroys his ability to support weight on that leg, especially once you take the Achilles tendon. He can't stabilize his ankle, which means if he tries to put weight on it, the leg is simply going to collapse. At that point, I create distance, I create safety, I can scan for other attackers, call the authorities, whatever else is necessary. But as long as he has a contact distance weapon, the farther I get away from him, the safer I am. So look at those pieces again. He comes in, I cut with the follow, I cut the tricep, check the arm as I drive across, thrust, cut, cut. Let's do-si-do. So if we look at it from this side, again, you'll see that first cut. Second cut and check here. And very importantly, once I've got this strut, when I step forward, I'm stepping basically on a 30-degree vector that way. What that does is it transfers the energy through my arm, through the skeletal structure, and turns him and holds him in place so that as I finish with my cuts here, it keeps him immobilized for a moment so that I can get in my final cuts, the ones that really solve the problem by destroying his mobility. So if we put these pieces together, seems like a lot of stuff going on. Really, it's not that much once you look at the flow of the motion. Being able to use natural body mechanics, the natural turn of hips and shoulders to be able to generate energy, and also doing, again, what is not a traditional martial arts technique, but actually an improved, smarter way of applying the same concept.
I'm Kevin Michalowski, Director of Content for the U.S. Concealed Carry Association. If you enjoy videos like this, please subscribe to this channel and click that notification bell. We'll notify you every time something new comes out. Stay safe, and we'll see you in the next video.